Thanks for joining us. Devastation across the CSRA tonight as tens of thousands spend another night without power. Linemen and other essential crews are hard at work into the night, hoping to get the lights back on.
Food and fuel and ice, you know about that, all running low for people all around our area as local, state, and federal resources just start pouring into our area to help us get the lights back on and get things back to normal if we can. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Richard Rogers.
And I'm Zaina Halliburton. The new update tonight, Georgia Power estimating that many of us could be in the dark for up to a week.
New estimates now predicting power will be back by the end of October 5th, 1 week from today. So going to give you a live look now at that outage map for Georgia Power. As we zoom out from the Augusta area, it'll just give you a sense of how widespread these outages really are, the work they have in front of them. In the Augusta metro area, at least 144,000 customers are without power right now. Statewide, Georgia Power says they've already restored power to more than 500,000 customers, so they've done a lot of work already. And Georgia Electric membership cooperatives reporting at least another 60,000 outages on their end.
And then on the South Carolina side, the red should clue you in and let you know that they're not much better off. Aiken County reporting nearly 50,000 customers without power. Another 10,000 are in the dark across Barnwell and Edgefield counties. Aiken Electric reporting at least another 50,000 customers without power. So again, a lot of people still in the dark, but surely we will get those lights on soon. Several areas do have a curfew set for tonight. So just a reminder on this, Richmond counties will end tomorrow morning at 7. Aiken County's curfew ends at 7:30. Columbia County's curfew ends at 8 in the morning, and in Edgefield County, curfew ends at 6 in the morning. Essential workers and first responders are exempt from this curfew.
Augusta city leaders and emergency management came together today earlier to give us an update on the recovery process. Among the key points, Mayor Garnett Johnson was focusing on dispelling all those social media rumors that the city might plan to shut off water. He says that is not true.
I want to address the rumors that Augusta Utilities Department is shutting down our water. That is completely false. Again, let me repeat, that is completely false. Augusta Utilities will only be isolating water mains as needed to repair some of our main lines, to stop leaks until roads can be cleared and roads can be cleared to repair broken water mains.
And your Hallie Turner, she was there at that news conference with more details.
I'm standing outside the Augusta Utilities Department, and earlier today we met with the Fire Chief of Augusta, the Mayor Garnett Johnson, and the President of Augusta University. And here's what they told us. Mayor Johnson wants you to know that right now that there's been some rumors that Augusta Utilities is going to shut off the water. Here's what you need to know. They're not. Everything is fine with the water. You might see a slight less bit of water pressure, and that's normal for the entire city. If you've been downtown, if you've driven around a little bit, or if you've seen some of our footage online, you'll know that some of the pipes have been uprooted by those trees, and there's been a main water break in several areas of the city. So they are working to repair that. There's some areas that they can't get to right away, so it's taking a little bit longer. They will let you know if they have to shut off parts of the water, but for right now, that water is safe to drink. That water is safe to bathe in. Again, that same thing goes for Columbia County. They've been having some rumors of water being shut off. It is not going to be shut off. You will be able to drink and bathe in it. Again, right now in Augusta, there's a curfew that the mayor wants you to know about. It starts tonight at 7 p.m. and it goes till tomorrow at 7 a.m. Now, this is going to be in place until further notice. This is to keep you off the roadways so that these linemen can do their jobs, that they can work at night some. But also, if you've been around Augusta at nighttime right now, it's dark. It's so dark. So we want you to remain off the roads during that time because those power lines are down and you can't see anything. Another thing that the mayor talked about is that the Ironman has been canceled. So a lot of those resources that Ironman grabbed and accumulated for the runners, bikers, and swimmers was drinks and food, and all of that will be distributed at Fire Station 2 and Fire Station 20. And he wants you to know that those are going to be happening today from 3 until 6 p.m. until supplies last. Augusta University is sheltering those students in place that are from out of town. They're feeding them, making sure that they have power and all of the ability at the library to charge those devices. But again, another thing that the mayor wanted to touch on was the fact that if you're driving in Augusta and you don't have to be and you need to be home, you don't have to have gas, please stay at home. If you do have to be out on these roadways, if you want to pay attention to those, when it comes to those intersections, it's a four-way stop. You want to stop and make sure that you're being able to drive right at the right time times. Again, emotions are high. People are getting angry with each other. We've seen it outside of our stations. People don't know which way to go, who's going, and it ends up in a wreck. Well, a lot of our emergency personnel are stretched thin right now, whether they're directing traffic, whether they're helping these linemen, or they're responding to emergencies. So it could be a little second if you get into an accident. So they want you to drive safe and arrive alive.
Hallie Turner with a lot of information for us there, and we have much more coverage looking at some of the damage around town that we've seen from Hurricane Helene. But for now, let's talk weather.
Emily, what can we expect as we head into the night into tomorrow?
Well, we can expect warm conditions, and that's really not something that a lot of us want to hear, because I know almost everybody is out of power at this point. That means no AC right now. We're sitting right around 74, 75, and it's just a little bit after 9:30, and we'll cool off overnight tonight, but I think we're only going to drop a few more degrees than what we're seeing right now, unfortunately. Another thing, too, is those dew points are relatively high right now, sitting closer to that 70-degree mark, so it is feeling pretty muggy outdoors. So I know a lot of people are opening their windows and doors, and if that works for you, hopefully it does, but it is going to be pretty muggy out there, so it's going to take it a little bit longer to cool off, unfortunately. So that's really the main things right now. We're actually tracking a little bit of rainfall moving closer to the city of Augusta right now, and so maybe that'll cool things off, but nonetheless, we are still expecting to see overnight lows dip to right around 67, 68 tonight. So it is cooler, but still pretty mild for the overnight hours. But again, tracking a little bit of rain right now. We can expect to see a little bit of rain throughout the next couple of days, pretty similar to what we're seeing at the moment. Not anything super substantial, but a quick passing shower will not be ruled out for the next couple of days. But I'll have a check on your full forecast coming up soon.
Thanks a lot, Emily. This was also a deadly storm, and as of tonight, at least 54 people are dead as a result of Hurricane Helene. 21 of those deaths are from right here in the CSRA, including some young children.
On Saturday, McDuffie County's coroner confirmed a 27-year-old mother, Kobe Williams, and her two-month-old twins, Kashmir and Kaysher Williams, died in their home in Thompson. The two other children died early Friday morning in Washington County after a home caught on fire on South Hospital Road. A tree had fallen on the home, and the children, a 4-year-old and 7-year-old, were trapped inside. 2 firefighters in Saluda County were also killed when a tree fell on their truck on Beulah Road. Earlier today, we learned of another death in Saluda County, though the cause is unknown, and another person who crashed their car into a downed tree.
An 89-year-old was killed in Deering when a tree fell, but that storm victim has yet to be identified. In Richmond County, 7 people died after trees fell on them. 4 died in Aiken County under the same circumstances. Those 4 are 78-year-old Jerry Savage and 74-year-old Marcia Savage, 29-year-old Michael Rukos, and a 70-year-old man whose family is still being notified. In Columbia County, 1 person died after a tree fell on a mobile home there. We are learning the names of several deaths we just mentioned in Richmond County. We are learning 72-year-old Stephen Donahue and 10-year-old Isaac Donahue died when a tree fell on a house on Old Waynesboro Road. We've also learned 62-year-old Catherine McCall died when a tree fell on a house on Morningside Drive. Win Lee died on Lake Avenue. Then a 50-year-old Davio Carter died also when a tree fell on a home.
And this one was on Wedgwood Drive. 62-year-old Andrea Warner died on Windsor Spring Road after a tree fell. That now brings the 10th toll in our area to 21 people. And then 52-year-old Coffee Wright died last night when the car he was in hit a tree. New information about a pedestrian hit by a car on Washington Road and Alexander Drive around 3 o'clock yesterday morning. The coroner's office is working to identify that woman.
Shifting gears now, a heads up for parents. Local schools are making changes because of the storm and the outages and all the debris. Schools in Burke, Warren, Richmond, McDuffie, and Columbia counties will be closed all of next week. This is because of the ongoing power outages, and that means these are true days off, not e-learning days. Augusta University and USCA says their classes are canceled through Tuesday. We have all this information on the 1226 app and the website, WRDW.com.
And like a lot of other places in our area, downtown Augusta by no means spared from this.
Right. Nick Proto took a look around Broad Street for us.
Downtown Augusta has some power today, but you can just see how hard it got hit. Take a look at this light post just ripped off of its foundation. The bulb is completely gone, and we actually saw our Taylor Martin was out here yesterday, and one of the lights had fallen from one of these in the middle of Broad Street. Now, as we come around this corner here, we're at Broad and 7th Streets. Take a look at this. Trees ripped out of the ground. 3 of them uprooted in a row, and these aren't the only 3 trees that have been uprooted in downtown Augusta. There are a couple signs here. There are a lot of smaller branches along the street as well, but we've seen concrete pulled up. But the silver lining in all this is all the trees seem to have fallen forward towards the street. We haven't seen any that have gone towards these buildings, and that is great news because, again, downtown Augusta seems to have some power today. And so we have seen people out here grabbing something to eat, doing a little shopping, trying to get some sense of normalcy after this devastating storm that we saw here yesterday. So as crews are out here working, we met one gentleman who's with an organization of about 7 people. They came through. They're trying to clear up some of these smaller branches and some of this debris that they can open up the roads and get traffic flowing at least over the last 24 hours or so. And then they're going to try to handle some of these bigger ones in the coming days and weeks. But no telling how long this is all going to take. But it is just good to see downtown Augusta have a little power to try to give people an escape from the reality that we saw a horrible storm here yesterday. And it's a little bit eerie being out here, to be honest with you. The sun is shining. It's a beautiful day. Cars are on the road here in downtown Augusta, and we know just 36 hours ago this was a completely different scene, and it's hard to process that we went through something so tragic and horrible one day, and the next day we're all out here like nothing ever happened. But it is good to see people trying to get back to normal and maybe take their minds off of what we saw yesterday. But it's going to be a long road to recovery here in downtown Augusta. Reporting on Broad Street, Nick Proto on your side.
Thanks, Nick, for that. And take a look at this at the Kroger at Washington and Alexander, as grocery stores saw lines just wrapping around parking lots to get in and get a hold of those needed essentials. Today, we saw several restaurants who were lucky enough to get power back cooking for people in North Augusta. The issue for this, however, is the limited resources for many locations. And we know that this is the place people want to be. Eventually, you are going to run out of things. You do need to go to the store, but certainly a lot of people are doing the same thing. So you are going to have to wait.
We saw some of those stores emptying their own freezers and refrigerators today. It's not just us at home, but those folks are having to throw away a lot of food that just went bad before they could actually get some generator power. And also when you walk in, sometimes it's darker than usual in there as they maybe they work off generators or just have lower light levels, but things feel different in a grocery store right now.
And certainly they are looking different at this point. It is very packed. A heads up, tomorrow in Aiken, the Salvation Army is giving food at their main location. This is starting at noon for those in need. That's at 604 Park Avenue Southeast. Just in the last 2 days, they say they've served more than 2,500 meals and will soon have a mobile feeding unit to send to hard-hit areas.
And keep this in mind, Academy Sports in Aiken is doing a water bottle distribution tomorrow. They're handing out cases of 24-count bottled water. That starts tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning while supplies last. To North Augusta now, where your Will Rio spent some time in the Hammond Hills neighborhood. That's over near Riverview Park.
And among all of the cleanup, he's been finding a real sense of community.
Well, today the devastation that we're seeing is just absolutely incredible all across our area, but specifically here in North Augusta. We're in the Hammond Hill area here on Hammond Drive by the Riverview Park Activity Center, and it's just unbelievable to see exactly what we're seeing out here. I want to point you to the house right up the hill here. There's just 3 different trees that are just sitting on this house that just crashed onto the roof. Now, this is what we've been seeing as we've driven through the area today. Just trees on top of homes, trees on top of power lines. It's slow moving for a lot of the traffic all across North Augusta. So patience is the name of the game today as you try to make your way around town. And it's not just this house, it's almost every single house in this neighborhood and all across North Augusta where there's trees on cars, trees on houses, trees across roads. It's just what we're seeing here, and it's just absolutely devastating to see. We have just chainsaws coming from every single different direction. You hear the chainsaws going off. There's crews all the way down the hill as you just see trees just draped across the roads. I've talked to several neighbors in the area, and they say this is something unlike anything they've ever seen. But talking to a lot of different people across town today, it's been about trying to find gas. It's been trying to find food and then getting to the hardware store. We went to Lowe's earlier today. They had power, and it's just packed everywhere you go. The other part of this today was really about the community coming together to step up and support one another. We had the chance to talk to North Augusta band boosters earlier today. We talked to the president, and he said that the community, the need right now is so immense that they stepped up. They grabbed the concessions from the away side and the home side and then grilled up burgers, hot dogs, and fries and everything else in the concessions that was going to go bad to support the community. They know people have gone now probably a day without a lot of meals here. So it's really trying to find that food to support the community. I want to take a look out here. We're on top of the hill here on Hammond Drive, and you can just see the landscape and the treetop over here. It's just incredible to see so many trees down. They've snapped from the top of these, the top of the trees have just completely snapped here. It's just unlike anything we've ever seen. So we're going to continue to monitor the area. We had a chance to talk to the Aiken County Sheriff's Office today as well. They said that they've been having steady calls today, but most of their calls have been actually disturbance calls from different gas stations across the area. So again, patience is the name of the game as people try to figure out the traffic patterns and then weave across those power lines and those downed trees. So it's going to be something we're continuing to monitor and bring you updates as we get them.
Will Rio there in Hammond Hill area of North Augusta with the sheer damage and the amount of damage caused by Helene. The district attorney in Augusta, Jared Williams, says jurors summoned for this upcoming week are released from their summons. You do not have to report to the courthouse. Jury trials have been postponed for this week. They're going to be rescheduled later. So even the legal community is affected by this storm.
The Richmond County Sheriff's Office says one person is dead after a shooting at 10th and Florence Street. This happened around 5:30. The Sheriff's Office says 2 people have been detained. And just in the last few minutes, we're also learning the name of someone who died in a shooting from September 20th. 18-year-old Jean Paul Magala died after being shot on Druid Park.
Well, looking at current weather conditions right now, we're sitting in those middle 70s, and so it's a little bit muggy as we go throughout our overnight hours. Unfortunately, I think that we will drop a few more degrees, though, so that's some good news. I know a lot of people are sleeping with windows or maybe doors open, and it will cool off a little bit more. But again, we warmed up to around 86 today, so it's going to take it a minute to start to cool down. Something that's not helping us out is those dew points. We're sitting in the 60s, upper 60s, low 70s now. So it's feeling humid out there. The air has a lot of moisture in it, and so that's going to make it even harder to cool down as well. We are tracking a little bit of rainfall at the moment, so hopefully maybe that'll give us a little bit of relief there, kind of get some of the moisture out of the air as it falls to the ground. But again, we're still just tracking a lot of humidity across the CSRA, and that's going to be true really throughout the next couple of days. But kind of what we're seeing right now is just a couple of light showers, and that's going to be the story for the next few days. We'll just see a couple of light showers here and there, not anything super substantial, which is good news because we've had a lot of flooding reports. Now we're looking at overnight lows right around that 65, maybe a little bit warmer than that. But again, I'm being hopeful. 65 for those average overnight lows tonight, so things are looking pretty good for us. And I was talking about rainfall totals just a second ago. Here is what we saw from Hurricane Helene, close to 12.5 inches in Columbia County, close to 15 almost in Richmond County. I mean, we just saw a lot of rainfall. That started a day before Helene even arrived. So thankfully, with these showers that we can expect the next couple of days, it's going to be a little bit of just lighter rain. So that's some good news. We're not going to be adding any more issues to the current flooding issues that we're seeing right now. I know the river levels are very high, but good news is that this is just going to be some light rain. But that's going to be true for Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. We could expect to see a few isolated light showers throughout the day those days. And I was very hesitant. I didn't know if I wanted to touch on this, but we're going to go ahead and just be transparent. We do have another area of concern, possibly moving into the Gulf of Mexico could become a little bit more organized. It's something that we'll have to keep a close eye on. But as of right now, we're not seeing any immediate threat. We're not seeing anything organized, but did just want to bring your attention that we are tracking something else, unfortunately, in the Gulf of Mexico. There is Tropical Storm Joyce. This is out in the middle of the Atlantic, not going to bother anybody. It's going to be a fisherman's storm, and so that's just going to stay out there in the water. But again, just kind of wanted to touch on that. I was very hesitant. I didn't know if I want to do it. Very sensitive topic right now, but hey, we got to let you guys know. That's why we're here. We're the First Alert Weather Team. We want you guys to know what's happening first. So here's what we're tracking the next couple of days. Highs will be in those middle 80s, overnight lows in those middle to possibly upper 60s. The next chance of rain is going to come next weekend for us. So mild conditions. We're going to see partly cloudy to mostly sunny skies, so that will be nice. But I know a lot of people are really just trying to stay cool at the moment. So those overnight lows being in the 60s, I think that'll be our saving grace this week.
People without power, mid-80s is quiet enough. Emily, maybe we can keep it down below that. You know, we've had crews all over the area, both in Georgia and South Carolina, looking at storm damage. And West Augusta was also hit hard by the storm.
It's like every corner you turn, it's something. Our Meredith Anderson spent part of her day on Almond Drive. Here's what she saw.
We've been driving through the area and we've seen multiple trees on multiple homes. I don't know if you can hear the sound of chainsaws behind me. The buzzing almost sounds like a swarm of hornets, but I assure you this sound is a very good thing, but it is unfortunately just a drop in the bucket.
I want you to take a walk with me down the street and show you some of the damage. And something to point out here, it's not just trees that have snapped, it's trees that have uprooted as well. I was just talking with the man who lives here in this house, and yeah, you can see this tree was uprooted. It's in his neighbor's yard. It crashed into his home while he was inside. More on that in just a minute, but he was just telling me that that neighbor right there 2 weeks ago just had the trees cut down from his home. How lucky was that? Of course, he didn't have any trees to fall on his home, but back over this direction. He was actually in the house when the tree fell on his house. He tells me that he had purchased a generator. It was in the back of his yard. It was covered in a tarp. It was ready to go. It was one of those full home generators. And had he installed that, he would have been sitting in his den, which is where kind of the brunt of the damage happened. And I don't know that I would have been talking to him today had he installed that generator and had been sitting in there watching TV. You can look over here and you can see that some tree companies are already out helping people, which is a wonderful thing, but there's still so much to be done. There's a man over here who is working on kind of patching up his roof, and he had some damage there. But over here, it's just more of the same. A bunch of neighbors just trying to figure out what to do with all of this damage, all of this destruction. None of them have power, but you know what? They say they're all thankful that no one was hurt, at least here in their neighborhood.
A lot of the homes on Almond Road are older. It is an established neighborhood. Some of these homes built in the 50s, and as you can imagine, some of these trees, they're old too. Look at the roots from this one. I am about 5'5", and you can tell this one's pretty tall. So much damage here, so much destruction, but again, so many people just thankful that they're here to clean up, and boy, there's a lot of cleanup left to do.
And we will certainly get there in that cleanup process. The Shepherd Community Blood Center is looking for donations as it's had to supply more than 150 blood products to hospitals in the last day. Tomorrow and Monday, blood mobiles will be at its donor centers in Augusta, Evans, and Aiken from 8 until 4 o'clock. Anyone who can safely get there and donate are asked to consider doing so in the coming days.
We also want to circle back and clarify something we mentioned earlier about school closures. We said schools are being closed all week and mentioned Columbia County among the others, but at this point, Columbia County is only closed through Wednesday. We will let you know if that changes.
On your sideline.
Well, you're normally used to seeing us under the lights, but this week, of course, we've been under the weather. Every high school football game across the CSRA has either been canceled or postponed to a later date. Scan this flow code that's going to be on your screen right now, and that's going to take you to the current status of nearly every game. And just to name a few of them, Lincoln County and Strom was going to be our game of the week. That game now canceled, no makeup. Gray Collegiate at North Augusta is one of the few that will be made up on Monday night. ARC at Harlem has been postponed with no new date scheduled, and Laney and Thompson will square off against each other on October 18th. And over in college football, we have a pivotal matchup in Tuscaloosa happening right now. The number 2 Georgia Bulldogs taking on the number 4 Alabama Crimson Tide. We've reached halftime, and it's actually the third quarter now, so ignore that screen, in T-Town, and right now it's all Crimson. Bama led 28-0 before UGA finally got on the board late in the second quarter. Trevor Etienne capped off an 11-play, 75-yard drive for the Dogs. Carson Beck has struggled throughout the first part of this game, completing just 7 passes for 98 yards and 2 interceptions. Georgia will get the ball to start the second half and will look to spark a huge, deep comeback behind enemy lines. And over in the major leagues, Travis d'Arnaud is the hero for the Atlanta Braves in Game 2 against Kansas City. A solo home run in the bottom of the ninth gives them the walk-off win. Before tonight, Atlanta was in a 3-way tie for one of the final 2 wild-card spots. Here's the great news, everybody. The New York Mets just lost in Milwaukee, which means the Braves are currently back in the playoff picture with just 3 games left to play. Atlanta's improbable playoff trip will most likely come down to Monday's doubleheader against New York.
Hey, thank you so much for that, Joe, and we'll have to just stay tuned for that. We know a lot of eyes are still on that Georgia-Bama game right now as we speak. We're going to send things right over to your first alert your first alert meteorologist, Emily Acton, who's been working around the clock with Chief Riley Hale today. Yeah. Emily, you all have been busy.
Yes. It's been a very busy past couple of days, and thankfully the storm has passed, but now we're having to deal with the cleanup and the aftermath of it. And overnight tonight, another thing that goes along with that is the power outages. But tonight we're going to drop off into the 60s, so hopefully people will kind of get to cool down their homes a little bit. I know that that's been just a really big issue at the moment. It's just so hot outside, so we'll cool down into the 60s. Overnight tonight, still a little bit above average, but hey, 65, I think we'll take it compared to 85 is what we have been seeing for the highs, and that's what we're going to see for the high temperature for your Sunday. Unfortunately, it's really going to be in those middle 80s for the next week. Overnight low is going to be in the middle 60s. There could be an isolated shower or two when we get into our Sunday and Monday. Just a brief, quick shower, which shouldn't be too bad for our area because we are still dealing with those flooding concerns. River levels have been high, but these should just be some really light showers that shouldn't cause any more issues. So that's definitely some good news there. But I'm just holding on to these 60s for the overnight lows, hopefully trying to cool my house down. I know a lot of people are thinking the same thing.
Folks are going to need to get those tarps on the roofs before any more rain moves in. And we don't have room for any more hurricanes in the forecast.
No,
I don't know what she was talking about down there in the Gulf.
Yes.
But not here.
But we know anything can change, though. But of course,
right.
We do have to keep everyone
I'd rather
posted.
know than not know. Absolutely.
That's true. Thank you, Emily, for that. And that's going to do it for us here, but we are going to bring you more from the latest on the storm recovery ahead tonight at 11.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you then.